very warm good evening to our viewers. Welcome to the Evening Review Show. I'm your host, Matthias Aufiko. Well, the general registration voters process is currently underway, and a lot of Namibians are flocking to registration points to ensure that they get the mandate and, of course, the right and privilege to vote later this year for leaders of their choice and a government of their choice there is. And we're joined in studio tonight by Mr. William Minnie, the communications coordinator of the Landless People's Movement.
Good evening, Matthias. How are you?
Good evening. It's good to have you here.
Wonderful to be here.
No, indeed. Well, the GRV process is underway. We've seen various political parties, including yours, urging eligible voters to go out there and get registered to vote. Perhaps just from the LPM side, there has been this perception, I wouldn't say it has been confirmed, that young people are always reluctant to go and fulfill the civic duty of voting. What is your view around that perception? Do you think it is indeed the case on the ground, or is it more of the public trying to scapegoat young people?
Well, Matthias, I do believe that the perception is there. I do believe that the Namibian newspaper also reached out to a few young people, and we saw what young people had to say about why they would not want to vote. Some saying that they will vote, others saying that they won't. But we are actively trying to encourage young people to vote because it is our civic duty and it is our democratic right to get up, to register and to vote.
So what are some of those strategies? I mean, over the years, there's been strategies and projects rolled out geared towards getting the youth to the polls and getting the youth to register, but it seems we are not getting the right results. Where are we getting it wrong?
Well, currently, Matthias, the LPM has taken a two-wave approach. The first one being social media oriented, where we have rolled out a few programs. We have launched a few projects to say via reels, videos, because we must understand that we are dealing with young people, Gen Z, Generation Z as they would be called. So we must meet the young people where they are, where they mostly are, which is social media. When the registration started on the 3rd, we did have a video from the former mayor, Her Worship Shade Governors, Councillor Shade Governors from the LPM, who did share a message. You did have a message from me last week urging and encouraging young people to vote as the communications coordinator. We did have the leader of the Women's Command element of the LPM urging people to get up and register. We have also try to educate young people through posters on social media. Firstly, on why it is important to vote. Secondly, where to vote. Thirdly, to try and educate them on how the voting is going to take place in regards to presidential as well as National Assembly. We have done this in 4 different languages so far, and we're still rolling it out. The second approach is the interpersonal approach. So in this approach, we have taken an active step to get on the ground and reach the masses door to door at their houses, where we can actively engage them. Try to find out why is it that some people don't want to vote. What is the change that they want to see? So encourage them to get up and vote, shared registration points. So we have kicked off the door-to-door campaign, not just in Windhoek, but across the 14 regions as well.
What is some of the feedback that you're getting during your interpersonal interactions with the public, and especially young members? Why is there a reluctancy?
Well, Matthias, the young people are tired, I believe. The young people are tired of the current administration, the way that administering has been taking place for the past 34 years. The young people want to see change. One of the reasons why a few young people have expressed publicly why they don't want to vote is that even if you vote, it is still the same story year in, year out, no change, nothing at all. You do see that certain political parties have come out, campaigned and made lofty promises. And young people are tired of those promises because they are not, they're not gullible, they're not naive. They see the truth, they understand the economic situation that the country is in, and they want an active change to that.
Okay. So, but you know, what would you say, as much as you say some of the youth feel there's no change, nothing is happening, don't they then consider to say, but if you don't vote, certainly nothing will change?
I don't think that some young people understand that, the concept that of voting a particular party out of power. I don't think they understand that, because if young people, because we make up a significant majority of the population demographic. If young people who are eligible to vote do get up, register to vote, and go to the polls on November 27th and make an active decision to change the current administration, then things would be much better for them. But I don't think as young people we fully understand that concept.
Yeah. To what extent should political parties share the blame of young people staying away from the polls?
I do not think that political parties are solely to be blamed. And I speak here as a young person, not as the communications coordinator of the LPM. As a young person, I must say that my peers do not understand. They don't want to understand. We saw that in the Namibian, via those posts that they shared of young people expressing their views, young people saying that they're not educated enough, they don't have enough knowledge. But who's going to give us the knowledge if we don't seek the knowledge ourselves? I mean, we can read the Constitution. I mean, we can seek out the knowledge ourselves in order to make an informed decision.
Yeah. There are also those who hold the views that it seems political parties have nothing to offer. So why should I go and vote?
True. I believe that comes from an ideological standpoint also, because different political parties follow different ideologies, therefore implement or have different policies in their manifestos, etc. But I do encourage young people to continue reading each and every party's manifesto in order to find a party that speaks to their needs, their interests, and what they are interested in terms of policies.
So do you think the way the country is governed has an impact on whether someone decides to go and vote or not?
Of course, Matthias.
Why is that?
Of course. And I'm going to put it like this. If you have you were born into a particular country that is a few years into its democracy, you're raised in a particular way, and then after a few years, the economic situation changes. Suddenly, the cost of bread has gone up. There are a lot of changes in the country, not to your benefit. Scarcity of jobs. You have graduated, you can't still find a job, high unemployment. Even with certain universities who have WIL programs, where you cannot graduate without completing your WIL, and then we have the scarcity of internships, then we have the scarcity of paying internships. So you have stuff like that contribute to why young people would not want to get up and vote, because they would feel, why should I vote? What am I voting for? Because if I do, they have this perception that even if I do vote, there's still not going to be any change. And we must actively fight as political parties. And I'm coming back as the LPM communications coordinator. As political parties, we must actively fight it. We must encourage young people to get up and vote. Not just political parties, but civic organizations as well. We must get up, even the media, you guys must also play this role, that we must encourage young people to get up and vote, because there's no other way that we can hold elected officials accountable if we do not vote.
There's also this perception that political parties during their campaign trails seem to be more personality-based, insults and so on, instead of being issue-based, which many feel is also a discouraging factor to voters. Do you think our political system is failing to evolve beyond the name-calling and the insults to real issues?
I believe that as political parties, we must get to a point where we put country before our own personal interests and beliefs and issues with one another, whether it is internal politics or externally with other political parties. There must come a time where the mandate that we carry must be on our chests. We cannot constantly live in a political society and environment where it is a constant fight. There's work to be done. There are villages in all 14 regions that do not have water. There are children who do not have access to basic quality education. The healthcare system in our country is failing. You have, in Kadutura Hospital, you have 60 mothers and their babies who are sleeping on floors due to a lack of beds. Those are the issues that we must be focusing on and not petty politics. So our politics in this country must come to a point of maturity where we engage on pertinent issues and not name-calling and constant fighting, because what is that going to help, Matthias?
The issue of representation is another cause of concern. You mentioned earlier on that the youth makes up a significant number of the country's population. But as far as representation is concerned, it doesn't quite reflect that. Could it also be an issue to say, but we don't see ourselves being represented there, so why should we vote?
One thing about the landless people's movement is that there is a great youth representation in terms of portfolios and structures within the party. I mean, we had the youngest member of parliament, which was Honorable Utara Muotu. Within our structures, I mean, the national spokesperson is under 30. The deputy national spokesperson of the LPM is under 30. The communications coordinator of the LPM is under 30. The youth wing is led by young people. We have young councillors as well. We have the youngest mayor in Marintal as well. So we believe in empowering young people. And as I said, even the Honorable Utara Muotu is the youngest chief whip in the National Assembly. And just to also put it out there, the party has taken a directive to say that 70% of our parliamentary list is going to be made up of young people under the age of 35.
Okay.
So that is the way that we are taking representation, because we do not believe that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. There's no such thing. Leadership starts today, and we believe in our young people.
Yeah. There's been so much being done by parties as far as mobilizing young people to go out and register is concerned. But it seems to be everyone doing their own thing. What is it that can be done collectively from a political perspective to really put out the message, a strong message to young people?
Well, Matthias, you must elaborate there. What do you mean by collectively as political parties?
Youth organizations. I mean, you have the National Youth Council as an umbrella of youth bodies. So what can be done in that regard?
In that regard, right now, as the LPM, we are looking to collaborate with youth organizations, because we do believe that youth organizations, as you said, the NYC is an umbrella. So are other organizations, youth organizations in the country. So we are also looking at collaborating. It is in the pipeline. It is something that we do want to work on, because we do believe that these particular organizations are where the young people are. They mostly represent the young people, and that's where we can find them. That's where we can hear what their cries are. That's where we can engage them and hear, what do you want to see in our policies and so on. Yeah.
The issue of technology, of course, it's a pertinent issue. But if you look at our electoral system and our electoral management system, we're sort of lagging behind. As far as implementing technology in our electoral system is concerned. Do you think that's a drawback factor as well?
Of course it is. Of course it is, Matthias. You know, I was engaging with a few young people at the Namibia University of Science and Technology the other day. And a few asked, when I asked them to register, I was pleading, can you please register, because it's just down here. And they were saying that the problem is the long queues. No one wants to go sit and wait in a long queue, and they asked about electronic voting. So now it is time for us to also ask the ECN, when are we also going to move away from manual registration and move on to electronic registration, where registration can be easily done from the comfort of your home. So we must get to a point where we prioritize technology, because we're moving into a very technological era. Namibia is moving slowly into it, but other countries already have. We are moving slowly into the fourth industrial revolution, which is a very significant revolution for us as young people as well, because we do most of our things online. Most of our things are done electronically. So we must get to a point where we do not even urge, we demand that the ECN moves from manual registration to electronic registration as we move on with the times.
But of course, especially the past, parties have been quick to raise red flags when when the EVMs were introduced. Parties raised concerns around the security matter. So how do you balance that? Surely there needs to be a balancing act, because you'll be having those who say, but if we have to vote online, what are the security features that will be in place?
Of course, we must engage those with much better technological knowledge than us. That is why we do have those people who studied in those industries and got those particular degrees and have more knowledge in the field, to put in particular measures to make sure that voting is done democratically and that there is no voter tampering. We must put those measures in place, because if other countries can do certain things in terms of technology which can be high risk, why can't we? And those countries also have measures. So when are we going to stop playing it safe and actually look at how they did it, how other countries have done it, and try to implement? We benchmark, we implement, because we wouldn't know if we haven't tried. Why don't we have a trial run with it? Not in National Assembly elections or presidential elections, but why don't we test it out? Has it been tested? Have we done the electronic testing to see if we can vote online? what are the safety threats that might be there, and how do we mediate? How do we come in? How do we erase the red flags? Those type of security measures must be tested in order for us to fully integrate into the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah. Mr. Minnie, we head for a short break quickly, and we'll be back to continue this conversation.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Well, to our viewers, we head for a short break. See you again after the break.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Sotpan in the Oshikoto region from 27th June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
Well, welcome back from the commercial break. Mr. Minnie, just to continue our conversation, of course, we were on the issue of technology. And certain drawbacks have been identified. You indicated that we've not tested it. We must stop playing the safe game.
Yes.
But if you look at even the GRV process that's currently underway, would you say perhaps this was also a missed opportunity to test such a move?
It could be. It could be. Matthias, I'm a firm believer in technology.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in technology because we cannot be behind. Being behind means that we are just going to remain in the dark while other countries are in the light. And that is not what we want for our country, because we want to move out of the developing country stage into a fully developed country. And we cannot do that if we do not start testing certain things, if we do not start taking certain leaps, especially when it comes to technology, so that we learn, what did we do incorrectly? How do we fix it? If the event occurs, how does it get mediated again? You know, stuff like that. We must continuously test in order for us to improve it, because if we don't try it, how would we know? As a country, how would we know? Because that also gives us an opportunity to see what measures we can put in place in terms of security breaches as well.
Yeah. Earlier this week, I spoke to the executive director of the NYC, Ms. Sharon Bush, about this issue of youth voter apathy. And one of the things she mentioned was that perhaps we should look at incorporating civic participation in the basic education curriculum as a cross-cutting theme to help fight this monster that's youth voter apathy. What is your reaction to such a...
Oh, I fully support the executive chairperson, Ms. Sharonese Bush, on that regard. Because civic education must start at a very early stage. You know, the current curriculum doesn't really equip you with the knowledge of the current affairs. It doesn't really equip you with national affairs, and it's stuff that you must know. I remember when I was back in school, in high school, we had development studies, but even that information was very limited, but it did do some good. However, we must fully integrate civic education into our school curriculum, because young people must be taught at an early age, because they won't realize the importance of it if we don't teach them from a young age. That is where primary growth must start, and growth in all aspects. So we must equip them with all types of knowledge that is necessary. There's nothing that they're going to do with locusts come university. There's nothing that they're going to be doing with locusts. It's better to implement things like civic education.
Yeah. So how will the LPM ensure that the voices of and issues of young people are represented within your policies and the campaigns that you run on a daily basis?
So, Matthias, I'll come back again. We believe in youth representation. Hence, we have such a strong representation of young people in our party. I mean, you're sitting next to the communications coordinator who's only 21 years old. Therefore, it's stuff like that. We have the youngest chief whip. We have the youth wing, which is fully led by young people. You have various departments. Even the human rights department is led by young people. So what we are trying to spread across as a party is that we fully believe in the capacity of young people. We do not believe in a long queue where young people have to wait for years, 15 to 20 years, in order to assume certain leadership roles. That is not what we believe in.
Yeah.
And we encourage young people that come to LPM also. Because at the LPM, we do believe in young people's capacity. No one is too young to lead. No one is too young to learn how to lead as well. Because if you do not know, we will teach you at the LPM, because it's a learning ground also.
Yeah.
So we firmly believe in young people. And the Honorable Bernardo Swarpe, the leader of the LPM, constantly and consistently has stated that young people must start leading today. Hence his directive to provide the National Assembly list with 70% of youth under the age of 35.
One of the biggest challenges as far as generational integration is concerned, especially within the political structure, is the bridging of the gap between the youth and the old guard. I'm not sure how it is within your party, but how do you blend? How do you guys meet each other halfway? What is it that you're doing to ensure that there's no friction between the two generations?
Matthias, because a lot of the leadership are young people. You must understand that in certain parties, the old are here, the young are here. So it's a very wide generational gap. That's not what we have at the LPM.
Yeah.
At the LPM, we have young people in leadership who understand the problems of young people. Someone who is 35 can understand my generational issues that I face, which is to fight for economic emancipation, high unemployment. A 35-year-old in leadership can understand that. But also, because the LPM believes so strongly in young people, it's very easy to get up and go to a senior leader and to voice your opinion on a certain matter, to give your input. Why don't we take this route? Why don't we take this? This would be a good motion to pass in Parliament. What do you think, Leader-in-Chief Change Campaigner? So it's very easy, and it's a very comfortable environment in the LPM, where the generational gap is bridged with comfortability, openness, with also professionalism, of course.
So if you look at, in your party, perhaps the gap might not be so wide as in other parties, but do you think that's also perhaps one of the reasons why young people are reluctant to join the political scene?
Of course. Do you think, Matthias, that an old person, let's say someone that is 75, 79, is going to understand my generational issues as a 21-year-old?
Yeah.
Would they? Could they be able to? Of course not, because it's two totally different generations. We understand that someone 78, 79, their issue was to fight for the liberation struggle. My issue now is I'm struggling to find a job. That is my generational issue now. So I believe that that is one of the issues, because there's a miscommunication somewhere, because we do not speak the same language. Hence, young people most probably and most definitely actually don't see the need to vote, because if you look at stuff like that, we do not speak the same language. Certain leaders in certain political parties are so senior in terms of age that they do not understand the realities of the current young people.
Yeah. Young people are always so quick to put their demands on the table. What is not being done for us? What is not in place for us? But would you say young people are doing their part as far as nation building is concerned?
Of course. Don't you see that so many young people are active? So many young people are active in youth organizations fighting for economic justice. You see young people fighting for gender equality. You see young people actively engaging in national discourse. That is what we're seeing in the current day. That is the dynamic of the national discourse now, where we have so many young people who are voicing their opinion, not just placing their demands on the table, but they're actively participating in the participatory democracy of this country. They're participating in national affairs, and that is what we want to see. Hence, young people do have the right to demand, because they are participating.
Yeah. So if we have such a vast number of young people within the populace, and young people are as involved as you say they are, why is it that we are not moving towards a situation where young people's needs and demands are being met? Because it seems this is a song that we sing every year. Young people's needs are not being met.
I think the question must be, Matthias, do those who sit in elected office prioritize the needs of young people? That is a very important question to ask. Is it a priority? Is youth unemployment a priority? Is it? Is the economic situation a priority? Is the current underfunding of youth-led SMEs, is it a problem for those who are sitting in elected office? Those are the type of questions that we must ask.
Yeah, but then it brings back to my question that I asked you earlier on what are some of the collaborative issues that youth organizations, regardless of the political background, can champion in unison?
Well,
because you said people are in election positions, do they prioritize this? There's a Swapo Youth League, for instance. Swapo is in charge of the affairs of the country.
Yes.
So how do you guys sit around the table and say, as much as we are from different parties, we still have a generational agenda that we need to pursue?
That is not an approach that we have taken as of yet.
Yeah.
It is still something that must be discussed very deeply to say, do we want to? Do we want to meet the Swapo party halfway? Because it's been 34 years.
Yeah.
And the problems persist. The Honorable Utara Moore, to Chief Whip of the LPM, gave notice of a motion that she was going to table next week in regards to underfunding of youth-led SMEs and economic ecosystems and so on. Those are the type of things that the LPM is pushing for. Do we see other political parties like the ruling party push for it? I mean, they are the governing party, and we seem to forget that a lot of times. They are the governing party. But is their work being done?
Yeah.
Those are very important questions to ask. Are the young people being met halfway? Because a lot of young people were told by His late Excellency the President to become entrepreneurs. Okay, we have started our businesses. Now meet us halfway. There was a large chunk given to the Ministry of Sports, Youth and National Service. And a certain sum of that money must go to funding youth organizations, etc., etc., etc. And I believe that in that motion, the Honorable Utara Motu is going to speak on the issues that I'm currently speaking on more broadly. So I'm just going to leave it on the table that next week in Parliament, this will be addressed.
Yeah. Just lastly, before we round up, do you think youth fragmentation amongst youth organizations is being used to keep the youth away from the main table where decisions are made?
I cannot say it with all factual information. However, that is the nature of politics. That has been the nature of politics, is to divide and to conquer.
Yeah.
However, the LPM does not believe in it. We do not believe in it at all, because we would be doing an injustice. Those who do it are doing an injustice to the future leaders of the country.
Yeah.
Because we must remember that the young people are going to grow up. And they're not going to stay young forever. Oh, the young shall grow, they say.
Yeah.
The young shall grow and they shall lead. And they will get to the age where the current leaders are.
Yeah.
That is one thing that we must remember. And the youth are growing tired. And we have seen what happens historically when youth grow tired of an administration that fails them.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Minnie, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Matthias.
We wish you well for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, to our viewers, that's it from the Evening Review team this evening. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a pleasant evening.